Hey, folks, welcome to the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network podcast. I am your host, Lewis Carlin. We're heard right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. If you like what you see here, if you like what you hear, we have lots of great content on the YouTube channel. Feel free to hit that subscribe button, make me a happy person. Love subscribers. We're going up, trying to hit 300. We're at 289 right now. 11 more for 300. And then after that, we'll set more goals. But right now, I'm looking at that golden number 300. So if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, if you're enjoying the content on the channel, please, 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 if you haven't already done so, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, so Chris Jericho explained the AEW signing. He was on the Broken Skull Sessions, Stone Cold Steve Austin show, Broken Skull Sessions, which is on the WWE Network or Peacock, or wherever you get the WWE Network, wherever you'll see your WWE content. It's WrestleMania weekend, so big interview for Steve Austin. He interviewed, of course, as we know, Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho explained why he didn't re-sign with the WWE and ultimately signed with AEW. So he explained to Steve Austin. So Chris Jericho said, "I knew." Let me pull this up here. I knew what I would be if I went back to the WWE. I knew what would happen. I knew the first thing when I went back is I would have to put somebody on the list in 2020 or 2019. The list was from 2016. It felt like I'm just going to go play Back in Black for the rest of my life, even though I had 15 albums since. Making a reference to AC/DC. Jericho also explained, and this is coming from WrestleZone, by the way. The WrestleZone article I'm getting this from WrestleZone. It says Jericho also explained that the way WWE management handled the end of his feud with Kevin Owens in 2016 was a deciding factor in his decision to leave the WWE. The former WWE champion explained that the placement of his match at WrestleMania 33 was a deciding factor in his departure. Chris Jericho stating, "I had this big program with Kevin Owens in 2016, which in my opinion was one of the best stories, if not the best story of that year." And I will agree with that. Not really a WWE fan, but I followed this storyline. I was drawn to it, and it was a great storyline. And we get to WrestleMania. It changed from Kevin and Jericho to Brock and Goldberg. Great, no problem. But when Kevin and Jericho went from the main event, they were scheduled to be the main event, proposed to the second match on the show. I thought to myself, this is where I'll be for, in my opinion, for the rest of my time in the WWE, the second match guy. And in my mind, I wasn't the second match guy. So that's kind of the reason why I went to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he was fantastic in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Awesome matches with Tetsuya Naito, had a terrific match with Kenny Omega, as we all know. He suddenly headlined the Tokyo Dome 3 years in a row. And when the opportunity for AEW came up, I said, I want to continue to do this. I like being the guy, which I've never been really before. And that kind of carried over in AEW, and it became a big success. Le Champion went on to describe how the success of All Elite Wrestling was on his shoulders in the first few months. He reflected on this time by stating that he felt like the natural leader of the locker room, especially when AEW's first pay-per-view cemented the young company's status. So I don't blame Chris Jericho. I don't blame Chris Jericho at all. He didn't want to be the second match guy. And let's go back to Jericho and Owens. That was a great storyline. I still go back to when Owens first turned on Jericho with the list of KO, and Jericho was like, "Why is my name on this list?" I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was terrific. And again, I'm not a WWE guy. I don't watch really WWE, but this storyline actually intrigued me, and I followed it, and it was a really good storyline. And he says they were supposed to be the main event, and it would have been a great main event at WrestleMania. But instead, they went with Goldberg against Brock Lesnar. I don't know if that was one of the if that was the 3-minute Brock Lesnar Goldberg match. I'm not certain, but Jericho and Owens definitely should have been the main event of that WrestleMania. I think they said WrestleMania 33, but absolutely it was a great storyline, and I don't blame him. Chris Jericho, he not the second match guy. He's not the mid carder. He's a top guy. And I don't blame him for leaving. And I know he still has a good relationship with the WWE. He's a future WWE Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that at all. But hey, I completely understand. And he's doing a terrific job with AEW. He is the guy. Like you said, when he first got there, he had to carry AEW on his shoulders. He was the main guy there. And he did a great job. And AEW is just a terrific promotion. And he's done a terrific job. But again, I don't blame him for wanting to leave. If I was him, I'd feel the same way. And I like the ACDC reference when he's like, you want to play Back in Black, great, but I've had 15 albums since. Do you want to hear some of my new stuff? He wanted to go back to the list. Okay, we've done the list. Can I do some new stuff? But the WWE apparently didn't want to go that route with Jericho. They wanted the list to come back, as Jericho has stated, and Jericho was just didn't want to do it. And now he's with AEW, and he's thriving with AEW with the Inner Circle. Love the Inner Circle. Actually, on the last show, because the Inner Circle feuding with the Pinnacle, on the last AEW Dynamite show, Jericho cut just a terrific promo. He was attacked by Pinnacle, and of course, Mike Tyson came to his aid. And but he's doing great. He's the guy, one of the guys in AEW, and I'm kind of glad. That he decided to sign with AEW, because AEW in the beginning, they needed that top guy. They needed the top guy to really put them over the edge, to put them to really give them legit status. And I think Chris Jericho signing with AEW really gave them legit status early on. Yeah, you had Cody Rhodes, you had the Young Bucks, you had Kenny Omega, but getting Chris Jericho in that mix as well, I thought was very, very important. It was very crucial to the early success of AEW. So great stuff there. Great story as well. I wasn't aware of that, but it was good reading that. Speaking of AEW, there's a big debut for AEW at the House Always Wins, the AEW's first untelevised house show, which is very, very interesting. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they're jumping into doing house shows, untelevised house shows, which is a good sign that maybe we'll see more house shows coming up. I know Daily Place, I think they're about to allow full capacity back into Daily Place. Daily Place being in Florida right now, that's limited crowd is allowed. But I was reading that Daily Place will be allowing full capacity crowd soon. So I'm pretty sure AEW will take advantage of that, being able to get full capacity into the Daily Place. Daily Place is an outdoor theater, so it's kind of easier to get full capacity approval. It's not indoors; it's outdoor. I believe it's outdoor, or it's open air. I believe open air arena. Either open air or outdoor. I don't know if that's the same thing, but I know it's not completely indoors. So it'd be great to see an AEW show once again in front of full capacity at Daily Place, and hopefully they can start touring again and doing house shows like this. Hopefully they'll come up to Canada. Hopefully they'll come up to Canada, come up to Windsor, Ontario. They could, or at least London, 2 hours away from me, where I could go see a live AEW house show. So I got my fingers crossed on that. But great stuff. But back to the debut. There was a debut at this house show, and DDT star, Japan star, Konosuke Takeshita makes his AEW debut. We'll just read here. Article is Last Word on Sports. On Friday night at AEW's first untelevised house show, The House Always Wins, Kenny Omega's squad with the Young Bucks and Michael Nakazawa were joined by a debuting fifth member in Konosuke, I hope I pronounced that right, Konosuke Takeshita, one of the top stars of DDT Pro in Japan, since he debuted in 2012. So big debut. And what's funny is a lot of people on social media were claiming that it was Kota Ibushi that made the debut, that it wasn't Takeshita, but it was in fact Kota Ibushi. As Kota Ibushi, he dropped the title to Will Ospreay at Sakura Genesis, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Kota Ibushi! Kota Ibushi made his debut for AEW." And I read that, I was like, "Holy crap!" But then I've discovered it wasn't. In fact, Kota Ibushi, but it was Konosuke Takeshita from DDT Pro. But Takeshita, a very, very talented wrestler. It doesn't indicate on here whether he signed a contract with him with AEW. I went through. I went through the whole article. I don't know if it's a one-off appearance. I don't know if maybe they have working agreement with DDT Pro, but I have a feeling that we're going to see more of Takeshita in AEW. But yeah, Konosuke Takeshita, DDT Pro, very, very talented wrestler, makes his debut with AEW at the House Always Wins untelevised house show for AEW. So hopefully on the next AEW Dynamite, we'll get to see Takeshita. I've seen matches of his on YouTube. Like I said, very, very talented wrestler, and be a great addition to AEW if they do, in fact, sign him to a long-term contract. Okay, well, that's it for me. Enjoy WrestleMania weekend. I know we still have night 2 coming up. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for listening to me today. I am Lewis Carlin. This is the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network podcast. And until next time, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. And stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye-bye.